cheese, blue cheese. You have a beautiful bowl of the grated egg. You have the lettuces. You have the meat already cooked. 5 or 6 different big bowls that can be a beautiful display. And I was at one recently and I was so impressed, and everybody felt, oh, it's salad. And they went back up for seconds, even thirds, and it was just beautifully arranged. It was just absolutely lovely. Of course, I might have added a bowl of edible flowers to sprinkle on top. Another deconstructed one I did was a salad niçoise. And you have your lovely presentation bowl of greens. You have the haricot vert or green beans, the tuna that you can buy that is big and chunked, or if you get the fresh and ahi style, tomatoes, on and on. So you get the idea that you can create a lavish lunch just out of a salad, so they really can be an important meal. Let me see if I've covered my thoughts on salads. Forgot I need glasses nowadays. I keep thinking I can see perfectly. But some of the salads that I've done for, such as today, if we were sitting and having a course salad, some of these can be made in, well, almost all of them into an entree salad just by adding chicken, duck, pork, all kinds of things, seafood. So these are just ideas on presentation. And I will say that chefs, for the most part, I know we probably all either have beautiful sets of dishes with wonderful patterns or prints, but chefs really want a large piece of real estate, even if it's for a salad, a small salad. These types of things, round, square, unusual shapes, we love it all. This really gives the opportunity to, again, enlarge the look of the salad, make it exciting and fun to eat and a visual experience. With some of the squares, and I'm sorry I'm not as high-techy yet and don't have all the photos easily available at my fingertips, but I remember I was told somebody in the group just absolutely loved beets. So I roasted the beets, not too much because I didn't want to destroy the colors of the yellow or the two-tone red and white. And so I did all the colors of medium-sized beets that you could. And of course, what kitchen is without some kind of cutters, whether they're cookie cutters, round, square, or an item. And on a very inexpensive slicer, you can buy these, 20 bucks sometimes or more. It's an adjustable slicer. And so I did all my little beet things and punched out squares. And I did a checkerboard as the bottom. And at first I did the whole inside of the plate, too much work for a big group. So then I just did kind of a, like you would do on a wall, a stenciling almost, which is another technique on bigger plates. You can do a pepper dust or an interesting colored salt dust and make a strip with some of the tools that you buy in a craft store that have the lace look or something, with some of these larger plates. So that's kind of a fun technique to play around with. And so even if one didn't like these, you really had a pretty pattern that you could kind of push away if you didn't like to eat them, and you had your lovely salad separately. So anyway, so much for the plates. One of the dishes, and I do have recipes for everyone.
That's nice.
For caterers, this is a wonderful thing. They separate, they come on wheels, they fit in the car, and their whole multi-stuff that you prepared just rolls in the door. Romaine hearts, one of the things I love about them is they're crunchy. They give a salad a crunch. And as Julia said, the hands are nature's best tools, so I totally agree with her. So rather than using all the tongs and things that I have to keep cleaning, this will have to do. These happen to be society garlic fronds, but green onion ends, or people have leeks and you can get the long ones and strip them and just blanch them until they're limp, 30 seconds or whatever in hot water. Then you take a romaine heart, wash, drain, but they're really actually quite clean. I used to do a lot of work for an egg company that sold romaine hearts, and from the field to the bag, they went through about 10 or 12 different washing cycles. So, if you don't wash it, it may not be the end of the world. So I just tie a romaine head up. I kind of come up from the root end, and I'll just kind of tie this up. You need to tie it all the way up, however many. This probably is good for about 4 servings. And what's fun about this is it kind of self-tosses, you'll see in a minute. Okay, so you just sort of balance them out and they're all like this. And then we're going to cut between it. So I either save this, I'll show you in a minute, or it goes in compost. And if you're doing a buffet and really don't know quite how many portions you need, this is a fun way, pretty much it's 1 per person that you can stack up. But they turn out like this, they're tied together, and if one's a little loose, like when you get towards the end, and if I were at home, I'd probably take this piece, I snap off kind of the crunchy stuff, and on the underneath side, I kind of punch them in, so you get the crunch still, and really no one's quite the wiser that you have, done anything different. I take plenty of questions, not that I know how to answer, but somebody probably has a phone and can Google the answer and we get it. I also have a recipe in here. I make my own basil oil, and the way it stays green is that I either will add spinach, chives, parsley. They will keep it green. So if you do take a blender, and actually a metal blender, the old bar blenders work the best because they draw out the heat. So I will take a bunch of basil that you buy, hold it, dip it in hot water, come over to my blender, cut the hard ends off, do the same thing with a bunch of chives, and then cut it a couple of times so it doesn't get wound around the blades. And then I have about a cup and a half of canola oil or a vegetable oil, because I want the flavor of the basil and the chives as opposed to an olive oil, which you could use, but then you'd also have more of an olive oil taste, which is fine, isn't it? And I do put a little bit of some kosher salt in it because it again brings up the flavor. Put it on the lid, put the lid on and let it go for about 5 minutes. And if you feel the metal, and it'll work with a regular blender as well, the metal holds the heat from the blanching and it pulls out the flavor much faster. And so you get a beautiful color, you strain it. The insides that are left are the beginning of a pesto, so I don't throw that, I just kind of freeze it and add it to soups or whatever. So it really, and it lasts a long time, maybe 2 weeks easily. And over time it separates a little bit, so a good shake. And I'll drizzle it on the bottom, and it's pretty nice and green. And then the balsamic oil syrups. I've made them, it's not worth it. I finally found a good brand. We do sell it, you can purchase it other places. But a friend of a friend's son went into the business, and so that's how I became aware of this balsamic glaze. And you just can paint and become a Jackson Pollock person so nicely, and it'll hold, so you can do this quite easily. And then you put you can put it anywhere. In one of our classes, we challenge everybody to become their own salad artist. So anyway, we have a honey balsamic vinaigrette that I gave you a recipe for. This lasts weeks and weeks. It's a great marinade for fish, for chicken, for salad dressings. And I don't put it in the blender because if I did do it, it would become emulsified very thick. And if I want that, then at the last minute I can just whisk it. So I just literally put all the ingredients together. So having a vinaigrette, it just drizzles right down and sort of self-tosses. And then I usually put a creamy dressing, whether it's a Caesar or a ranch, right on top. And then this can become anything. It can become a Caesar style with shaved Parmesan and breadcrumbs or bacon, flour, confetti, caprese version. I usually mix all the flower petals. My dear husband Bob foraged for me yesterday out of our garden, and we have the different colored geraniums. The society garlic flowers themselves that taste just like a mild form of garlic, the little purple squares. I found over the years that whatever flowers, it's better to break the petals up, because people with, mostly men, but a lot of women, they sort of push the whole flowers away. So if they're done as a confetti and smaller pieces, they're much more usable. Hibiscus are great little flowers. Nasturtiums are lovely. Unfortunately, the nasturtiums the birds got, and my neighbors have all of my seeds growing everywhere. Red sage is a lovely edible flower too. Colored tomatoes, and we've got two types of caprese, or the fresh mozzarella. They make little pearls. Sliced tomatoes, either the grape tomatoes, mixed ones, either with cutting them in half and have more rounded ones, or down the center oblong. And then again, whatever cheeses, or if you want breadcrumb or bacon or anything to give a little extra crunch. You could do a Mexican style with oranges and watermelon and crispy tortillas as a crunch. And even if you did an Asian version, frying either wontons that you slivered or baked them. Baking is just fabulous for wontons than cutting them up. So anyway, there are all sorts of fun ways you can get crunch besides nuts and whatever. So that's kind of one version of the salad.